Game of Thrones. Let's do it. Season 8. Man, I am so ready for this. Have you been rewatching it all?
Yep, I've been hitting those YouTube clips. Boy, are most of the scenes on YouTube. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've watched a couple episodes here and there. I've been listening to a couple of binge modes, trying to recap some of it. Shout out Jason and Mal. And shout out Emmy Award nominated Jason.
Of course. Goats.
Damn. Crazy. So Game of Thrones. I mean, first, this has been talked about, and the big conversation is how this is probably the last season of monoculture TV. That there's not going to be a show like Game of Thrones that everybody will have to watch to avoid spoilers. To some extent, I agree with that, and to another extent, I say before Game of Thrones, I think people kind of said like, "Oh, Breaking Bad is gonna be the last type of show like this," and I feel like if a show is good enough and it can get big enough, this can definitely happen. You know, Lord of the Rings, if it ends up being what people think it's going to be, has a real shot at being this again. But for the foreseeable future and for the predictable future, I think it's fair to say this probably is the last one for what we can actually predict. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the key here is that the delivery method of television has largely changed. Stranger Things would be one of these shows. It's so popular. It's so big on the internet, multi-generational. The problem is when Netflix blows the whole load with the whole season on the same day, people watch at different paces, websites weigh how to cover something all at once like that. It just doesn't happen. It shows a shorter life. No one's watching at the same time. Amazon also releases shows that way. Will they release Lord of the Rings week to week? I really hope they do. But if they don't, it's really hard to see it reaching that point. So that's the case. HBO is really the only FX, I guess. I mean, people tune in to watch Atlanta week to week, Killing Eve week to week. Those shows are nowhere near big enough to, get this kind of label. I think it really ultimately depends on Netflix, Apple, Amazon, how they choose to deliver their biggest shows, because those are the shows that will have the opportunity to have enough eyeballs to hold this title. So, gotta wait and see, honestly.
The thing about shows like Atlanta or even Killing Eve is that those stories just are not the size that Game of Thrones is. Like, Martin has created this incredible, expansive, very rich universe that ties in so many different storylines and so many characters that people connect with or care about, which it's hard to do on TV because, unless you have a network like HBO, Amazon, that's really investing, if it's cable TV, you're not getting, a 5-season deal to build the story up. If you don't get this thing off the ground within season 1, and I think Game of Thrones, if people had just like, okay, 1 season, let's see how it goes, wouldn't have even gotten to this point, because I think season 1 moves a little slow at points. I think people would have checked out, but then you have that huge payoff at the end of the season. You're just like, okay, I'm in. Like, it's fantastic. I don't know. Where does this rank in like your all-time TV shows?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, see, the thing is, I haven't watched a lot of the Pantheon Golden Age shows. I've started a few of them, but I haven't finished The Wire or Mad Men or Deadwood. I'm going to watch Deadwood very soon, honestly, once I finish Veep. But, I haven't seen a lot of these exalted shows, and like a show like The Simpsons, show like MASH, Violence, and those wouldn't really do it for me. So, is Game of Thrones my favorite show ever? Yeah, it might be. It's definitely the show I've invested the most time, brain power into. It's a great question. For me, it's probably Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad are probably the best, and Leftovers, I guess, is certainly right there.
Yeah.
I think it's between those 3 for me. I hope Watchmen's amazing. We'll see.
Yeah. I have high hopes for Watchmen. Yeah, I think Breaking Bad for me is just a little bit higher. I think there's also some nostalgic factors for me with that, about how like it was just a show that nobody knew about, and then everybody caught up, and then it was literally like you get together to watch it with your buddies.
One of the first true Netflix bumps where Netflix cultivated and maintained a cable audience, for sure.
Yeah, and I really love The Wire. The writing on that show is just out of this world. It probably Game of Thrones is probably number 3 for me, behind those two. But I mean, those three, it's a Mount Rushmore, and then there's I think The Leftovers, even that is a step below, just in terms of scale of the show and the fact that it was very up and down in the first season and
for sure.
the second season.
And I also haven't seen Sopranos, so that's another one that's TBD.
Same for me. I haven't seen Sopranos. That would probably be up there from what everybody says. But so this is really a show that is important to the culture. A show that we might never see the size, have the influence that Game of Thrones has had. So we're left here with season 8, the second season, where we don't know really what happens because the books haven't been written yet. This is
third season, actually.
Oh, is it? I forgot. Yeah. Season 6 was off book 2. That's crazy.
Yeah. The books, spoilers for where the books end, if you care, I guess. But the books end with Jon getting yapped in the gut, and Dany's still in Essos. There's a war with the slavers going on. Tommen didn't die. Like the whole Cersei blowing up the Sept, Jon getting resurrected, all of that hasn't happened in the book. Mm-hmm. So seasons 6, 7, and now 8 are just off the George outline that he gave to Benioff and Weiss, and then whatever Benioff and Weiss decide to do.
So we're really kind of going in, and people I think have a general sense of where things are going. So season 7 left off with we find out that Jon is a Targaryen. Aegon Targaryen, he's the son of Aegon and Lyanna, which, I mean, you couldn't give him a different name. Rhaegar, sorry. But anyways, so we got this Targaryen plotline. Now he's boning his aunt, who is Dany. They make this pact. They're going back down to Winterfell. They escape the White Walkers, all that jazz. Meanwhile, the Night King just taking down the wall with his ice dragon that he resurrected from the dead. We got Sansa and Arya in Winterfell. They kill Littlefinger, with Bran. They all kind of team together, the Stark kids, that feel-good story. But Jon's coming down with Dany. You got Jaime leaving. Cersei, who may or may not be pregnant. There's a lot going on here, man. I guess maybe what storylines what are you most excited for this season?
Well, technically, Jon and Dany are coming up from King's Landing to the north. They're not coming back down from the wall. Get your geography, your Westeros maps in order, sir. No, I mean, the thing about season 8 is that the story, the geographic location, most of the characters were just very condensed. We've never really been in this before, right? Dany and Jon are together. All of their compatriots are together, right? So soon coming with this is a lot of reunions that haven't happened in several seasons, or perhaps the whole length of the show basically are about to happen because everyone's just getting back into the same place for the first time, right? But I mean, if you think about the stories, we have Cersei is back in King's Landing, someplace she hasn't left since the very beginning of season 1. And she's there with Qyburn, the mountain. Euron went off. Qyburn. Euron went off to get the Golden Company across the Narrow Sea. We assume Daario will come back with him, right? Yeah. And then other than that, we have the Night King, the White Walkers, the Whites, and Viserion, Ice Dragon, beyond the wall. Tormund and Beric are running towards Winterfell, and in Winterfell, Jon, Dany, Tormund, Brienne, Bran, Arya, Sansa. Jaime's on his way. He'll probably get there soon. Tyrion, all of Dany's people, Davos. Everyone is basically in Winterfell, right? And I'm just really curious to see how we start off the season, because there's a lot of speculation that episode 3 will be the Battle of Winterfell, when Night King and crew do some siege, blast right through the place. Who knows, right? But I'm really curious to see what kind of threads get set, because the appeal of Thrones for years now has always been that palace intrigue, right? And I don't think the season is just going to be one continuous battle. So those whatever like remaining threads they have are set up. Probably a lot of it will be from Cersei, but if there's any tension with people at Winterfell, I'm just really curious to see where it goes, because we'll probably get a sense of that story soon, because we know the battle's on its way. So, what about you? What are you thinking for the beginning of the season?
I mean, it seems like the first episode has to be Jon and Dany meeting with Sansa, Arya, and Bran, how they work all that out and all those dynamics. And then pretty quickly, Jon's gonna have to be like, yeah, there's an ice dragon coming, and we got to figure out how we're gonna fight these guys. They're gonna have to figure out weapons pretty quickly. So Gendry's gonna be like working double time. Get those weapons out. They have to find a lot of Valyrian steel or dragon glass somewhere. Yeah,
the dragon glass.
Yeah, that dragon glass gonna be essential. So I think by episode 2 we'll probably get into the battle, and then it's gonna be kind of about I think how things play out from there. And I'm really interested to see, because I think if we're getting the battle that early in the season, it's either going to condense the showdown pretty quickly to just the main characters that they want the story to be about, or it's going to be like part 1 of a larger to come battle later on in the season between the White Walkers, which I can't really imagine the White Walkers retreating. So I have to imagine if they're leaving Winterfell in some sort, then they would be going down to Cersei, which doesn't make sense. So not really sure how it plays out.
Yeah. Just the whole plotting, how Cersei factors in, I think, is really like the X factor of sorts in trying to guess what happens with the plot, because we don't expect her to send the Golden Company to help, right? We don't expect that to happen. There's no reason to believe Cersei will see the logic for once, right? No way.
Right.
So she's going to send the Golden Company to sabotage the good people, Dany and Jon's crews, or maybe wait for the battle to happen and then go after whoever wins. I just can't see the Golden Company hanging out in King's Landing waiting. Cersei will probably wait. Well, she's still in this the whole time, but I'm just wondering, like, what does Cersei have left to do? Besides get killed.
Yeah, but at Jaime's hand, right?
Valancourt, baby.
Do you think she's pregnant? What would your guess be?
So yeah, that's like some of the famous like Vegas props you got. Is Cersei pregnant, and also is Dany pregnant via Jon, of course.
Dany is beyond pregnant,
I think,
bro.
I'm gonna go Dany, yes. Cersei, no. We'll say Cersei lied. I'm trying to think. I think there's Cersei and Jaime. They're supposed to be like around like 40. At least in the book they are. So I don't know. I mean, she's probably not that fertile, right? It's probably not that easy. Especially incest baby. I don't know. I'm gonna say Dany, yes. Cersei, no. But
are we sure it would even be Jaime's though?
Oh, I mean, well, who else would it be? Do we have a name for anyone? It's not Lancel. He's been
no. It would be the the guy Euron.
Oh, Euron.
Gotta be.
It's tough to pull off making Euron truly that important right at the end. I don't know about that. I feel like Euron's just kind of a means to an end. Yeah, I'm gonna say no. But Jon and Dany joining up and having a new Targaryen baby feels like everyone's kind of in that boat. But I mean, another thing is, obviously in the beginning, Jon needs to be told by Sam and Bran that he is in fact the true heir. He's a legitimate Targaryen from Rhaegar and Lyanna, so he's both ice and fire. He's both Stark and Targaryen. Yada yada. That needs to be established early. But yeah, in terms of his kid, I mean, I feel like what do we care about these unborn babies right now? I mean, we got more important things to worry about, And I feel like that's the attitude. I mean, speaking, and we already got some born kids. We got fucking baby Sam, man, from Gilly. Yeah. Keep that guy alive. We'll worry about the pregnant kids when they're born.
The characters I think I find most interesting are the ones that are maybe the peripheries right now of the main group. Arya, we don't really even understand how her faceless people magic works. I'm really interested to see how that kind of plays into this season. because you have the whole thing where she actually turned into Walder Frey, like voice and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then other times doesn't do that. So I'm really interested to see how that really plays into the season, because Arya just kind of feels like she's just going to be kind of chilling, going to kind of be fighting out there using Needle, but I'm not really sure how she plays into the whole dynamics. She's not going to rule. It's going to be between Sansa and Jon and Dany, that whole struggle there. Bran is also interesting, whether you fall into the Bran the Builder or Bran as the Night King, or there's a lot of different theories out there about Bran, but he also seems like, what is his role going to be in a lot of this?
Yeah, the thing about Arya in the trailer, and there's only that one real trailer, we don't see a whole lot, but big chunk of it is honestly Arya looks a little bruised, but looks like she has like legitimate fear she's running from something. Perhaps in Winterfell, tough to really say. And trying to think, like, what would cause that in her? Because at the end of the day, she's a fucking stone cold killer. You know? So much so the fact that most of her compatriots don't even know the extent of it. So what it kind of leads into, is there something in the Winterfell crypt? I mean, there's talk that there's a dragon under there that's been heating the springs. I don't think we're going to get that. Maybe it happens in the books. Who knows? The Great Other, I don't know. Or maybe she sees Rhaegar's harp and runs away in terror. Who knows? But the fact that she's like legitimately scared of something, which is very unlike Arya in general, it's definitely something to think about. But obviously, you mentioned Bran. I mean, Bran truly is just the big question mark for what it is, because they've established that he can, as a three-eyed raven, can cross dimensions, go back in time in sorts, right? We know that he fucked up and basically made Hodor into who he was. We also know that when he went and saw the Tower of Joy scene happen, Ned heard him say something in the wind, right? So we know that he can influence the past. And as you mentioned, is like Bran, or all the past Brans, like Bran the Builder, Bran and Stark, was Bran actually influencing that somehow? Was he doing it in a bad way? He make the Mad King go mad? You can take it any way you want. You can talk yourself into basically anything. But figuring out what exactly is going on with Bran and how he is going to influence what the final story is a huge question. I mean, like, one of the big reunions we're going to get, assumingly, because they'll be in the same place, is Jaime and Bran, two people that haven't met since episode 1, when Jaime pushed Bran out a window, right? But Bran, through his character now, will probably be like, that's okay, man. This was supposed to happen. It got me to where I am now, where I can see everything. So,
yep.
Bran, big X factor for sure.
Yeah. Just kind of looking here at some of the characters, I guess maybe this is a good time to talk about who we think will come out of this season and who we think is destined to not make it out. I mean, why don't we just start with the big ones? Dany and Jon. Are they making it out?
Dany lives, Jon dies, is what I'm going with.
Jon wants to die. Like, he just does not want to be alive anyway, so he'll be dead. Yeah. Dany, I think, definitely will. Will she be on the Iron Throne?
I think that's a separate question. We can talk about that after this.
Okay, so we'll put that on pause.
Sansa?
Sansa, I think she makes it out.
Same.
She's a survivor, bro. Like, there's no way she's gonna not make it out. What about Arya?
I'm going dead.
No. Did you see the whole thing with Maisie Williams and Jimmy Fallon?
Oh, I did not.
What was it? There was a April Fool's Day thing where he was interviewing her, and like she's like lets it slip, like, yeah, when Arya dies in episode 2, and then she's like, and it was like a whole like April Fool's Day thing. But I'm wondering if maybe it's not an April Fool's Day thing. We'll see. If Arya dies, I mean, that'd be a tough one, because I feel like she's a big fan favorite for sure.
She is.
Bran, he lives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's an all seeing, all whatever, warging power. Tormund.
Gone is fucking yesterday, bro. He's dead.
What about Brienne though?
So I think there's like a bunch. There's a big group of people that you can pretty confidently write off, and they're of that character weight. So Tormund and Beric, we assume they'll escape the wall, get back to Winterfell, then they'll die. I throw Jorah in that mix. I throw Theon in that mix, Euron in that mix, Jaime and Cersei. I assume they kill each other like the Valancourt theory, but I think they both don't make it. Dario, if he comes back, will die. Melisandre, if she comes back, has like 5 people that want to fucking murder her, right? The Mountain and the Hound, I assume Clegane happens and they kill each other.
You think so?
I think so. Well, at least the Hound kills the Mountain, but I feel like the Hound has been through a lot. He'll finally rest. I really think they both die. Maybe it's Jaime and the Hound go on a murder mission down south. Who knows? But I really think most of these ancillary characters are going to die. I think a few of them will probably survive, perhaps Davos and Varys. I mean, again, some of these people will live, probably. Bronn, I'd go either way on Bronn. I feel like Bronn's such a popular character. He has a bigger role than he ever had in the books. They keep Bronn. But Brienne, I think Brienne's a great one because that you can see Brienne influencing things with Jaime. And I'm bleeding Brienne dies.
Yeah. I don't think any of those like middle characters have a very good shot of making it out this season. Yeah, I think the interesting thing or the interesting person maybe I didn't hear you mention was Tyrion, because Tyrion really I'm not sure how he factors in other than being just a fun character at this point because he doesn't really have a shot at getting any chance to rule. He's an advisor, and I guess like we'll have to vouch for Jaime, who I don't think will have trouble, getting accepted into fight against the White Walkers anyway, since he's basically coming to do so. Yep. So I'm not really sure what Tyrion does, and as an early season fan favorite, he's kind of been phased out over the last couple of seasons. So I think I could see him getting the axe pretty early on.
Yeah, that's a good question. A good point because as you mentioned, the best Tyrion stuff is in the beginning when he's in King's Landing, fucking being awesome.
Yep.
Once he became subservient to Dany in a certain extent, he has less influence and thus less to do, less lines, And again, if we think this Battle of Winterfell, at least his first main conflict, happens early, it's not just going to be the fighters that die, we assume, right? Like again, I threw out Jorah, Tormund, Beric. We assume a lot of those guys probably get killed in that original fight. But could Tyrion get killed there? I mean, I don't know. Tyrion getting killed early, tough, but at the end of the day, he's been on 7+ seasons already. He's been a regular the whole time. I guess you can kill anyone at any time at this point. It's a good point though, because what's Tyrion going to be doing? He's just going to be helping strategize if there is much strategizing to do. I feel like the true strategy in terms of what they can accomplish will probably come from Bran because he's just going to reveal things to everyone, or Sam to get in the scrolls. Like, I just don't know what Tyrion can do to push the story at this point.
There was the theory, I think, a couple seasons back where Tyrion might have been, a Targaryen, and he was going to ride one of the dragons. And maybe that will happen in the books, but at this point, if that came out this season, that would be a huge twist that seems unearned in a lot of senses. So I don't really see it happening. And even if it was, I mean, you have to assume Dany and Jon are going to be the ones riding dragons if Jon decides to do that, instead of having Bran just warg into it or whatever happens with that. Well, but go ahead.
Do you think so? Dany rides Drogon, obviously. Mm-hmm. Jon rides Rhaegal. Do you think Bran tries to warg into
the Night Kings?
Ghost Viserion, Ice Viserion.
I mean, that'd
think
be
both happen?
Awesome,
do you think the Bran wargs into one, Jon rides one? Do you think they both happen or just one?
The warging thing is tough just because if you're gonna give the Night King this weapon and then pretty much Bran's just like, nope, I'm gonna take that away. It's like, okay, so maybe this isn't gonna be as much of a battle as we thought. So we're gonna have 3 dragons just wiping out these. Although I guess the Night King can just take them out with one javelin throw anyway, without even a step. Dude's got like the craziest arm of all time. But him and Judge and Vladimir Guerrero having like a throwing from the outfield like contest, dude. I just want to see it. So I don't know. I just feel like they can't take the Ice Dragon away that quickly as a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning. I think whatever manifestation of Brienne's powers, whether it's interdimensional or just warging. And I say just warging, it's just some throwaway thing. But like, I feel like that's not going to happen right away. Certainly not in that first conflict. So, right. I feel like the Night King and Viserion and all his army will wreck plenty of shop before Brienne potentially rains on his parade. But, you know, the Night King is a villain that comes in very slowly played, right? Doesn't speak. He's dull in a sense, unclear motivations beyond just turning everyone into a white. But we do know that through Bran's time traveling, he basically allowed the Night King to go through the Three-Eyed Raven's hut beyond the wall of the Children of the Forest, right? Whether I don't ascribe to Bran being the Night King, but their connection, whether it's just something in their minds, like whatever that is, you feel it has to come into play somehow, just because we got so much of that. And Bran was a character that felt very ancillary for a lot of the show, because I mean, he literally takes a season off. And then when Isaac hadn't said right comes back to play him, he'd already hit puberty and grow like 6 inches, you know. Yep. But I just don't think they'll fumble the ball with Bran at this point. They definitely thought about it enough to have a plan for him. You can talk yourself into basically anything.
Right. Winterfell has to fall, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's gotta, because even just looking here, it seems like there's 6 episodes this season. The first 2 are only an hour, then the last 4 are 80 minutes long. So that means that there's big stuff coming in those episodes. And if the Night King is just going to get like shot down in the second episode, like, nah, I can't see it happening. He's gotta at least take that battle and kind of build the climax to the end of the season. Probably the penultimate episode will be the final battle with that. Yeah, so we kind of put it on hold, but what about this throne talk? Is there going to be an Iron Throne at the end, Dave? What do you think?
Yeah, so I've been talking a lot with a friend of the show, Adam Mahalik, and he's thrown out this kind of like United Nations of sorts, independent constituencies, all the different kingdoms, right?
Woodrow Wilson, shout out our guy.
Yeah, well, the League of Nations first, of course. I think we've mentioned that on the pod before, so call back to the deep listeners for sure. That's one option. The other one is just very traditional. I'm going with Jon as fucking as dead as can be, so that it would just be Dany. Does Dany just sit on the throne? Does Dany give in to her Mad Queen tendencies, and does nothing really happen? Is like, or do they truly break the wheel and go no throne? I don't know, man. Just because I know what I like to see, and I also know that what I think the show would do, and I'm kind of leaning towards they don't melt the throne down, and Dany just is at the end, on the throne at the end. But it would be really cool if they kind of just branched off and had and the Stormlands, Gendry Baratheon, like in the North, Sansa Stark. It'd be really cool if they had all these different areas truly autonomous. But I'm going to say just Dany at the top.
I could see that, and it would be really interesting if she does, she is the Mad Queen at the end, and it's basically just this whole revolving door of things happening over and over again. That's the whole point of this. You have this epic story that just ends in perpetuation. Although, as you were talking, this kind of played out a theory, because one of the major themes has been the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. Right? That's been the whole thing with the Starks, and I wonder if maybe Jon dies in episode, penultimate episode 5. Dany kind of goes a little crazy, that her lover / king is dead. Her baby's father's dead. She's that Mad Queen. Sansa Stark, Arya, and Bran team up together again, take down the Mad Queen, and they rule all together. I mean, that would be that whole pack survives, but lone wolf. That's just that's a crazy theory. I just want to get out there. It doesn't cost me anything, so if I get it right, I'll just call back and say I'm the smartest person in the world.
Right. Yeah. I just don't know if we have enough real estate to introduce the Mad Queen truly and then resolve it like that.
Right.
I just think it's an endpoint only option. But yeah, I feel there's only truly a few options. Jon, Dany, Sansa, Night King, they all die. I don't think Cersei's a real option. Tyrion, no. That's it. There's no one else.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just more the existential questions of if they maintain the monarchy and truly maintain the dynasty with having new Targaryens on the throne again after the Baratheons. Or they truly try and break the wheel and change things. It's Game of Thrones. It's tough to predict something too rosy, you know?
Or does Gendry end up on the throne, the rightful heir to the throne?
Is he the rightful heir, though? Because he is a bastard. Like, he has a good claim. But I guess he had a better claim than Joffrey did, because Joffrey literally wasn't his son.
Yeah. Interesting.
Tough question.
Yeah, there's and we'll be talking about it for sure. Any last predictions or anything you want to throw out there for the season?
Theon. I'm going with Theon dies. What about you?
Yeah. Oh, dude, deader than dead.
Kind of thought he was dead last season, to be honest.
I mean, the thing about Theon is that you just keep see these glimpses of him doing these things that are like redeemable. You're like, yes, and then he just like immediately undoes it. And you're like, okay, just go die somewhere, dude. Yep. Yeah. Anything else? I think we're good on that.
I want to shout out this Twitter poll from at Rejects, the Neil who runs One Perfect Shot and filmscorerejects.com, and he tweeted back on the 3rd, so like a week-long poll, if you only could choose one, Game of Thrones Season 8 or Avengers Endgame. And currently, with 1 day left in the poll, 65,000 votes, Game of Thrones Season 8 has 67% of the vote. And that is what I voted for.
That's what I would vote for, too.